Good morning and welcome back to Tamebay Live, to this session with Jagath, who is the CEO and co-founder of Ordero. We're going to be looking at best practices for streamlining your e-commerce operations in this session. But before we get started, I just want to remind you that if you have any questions, we will have a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen, the presentation screen, you'll see a little box that says submit your questions. So if you've got any questions, just click that box, type them in, and we'll put them to Jagath at the end of the session. So Jagath is the CEO and co-founder of Ordero, and he and his co-founders set up the company in 2010 to help e-commerce merchants with the back end of their business. So platforms like Shopify and BigCommerce gave them all the tools they needed to promote the business and sell products, but they kind of stopped there. So they saw the gap for an organized order fulfillment system that would improve merchants' relationships with their customers and their operation teams. It's all about giving you operational efficiency and accuracy, allowing you to reinvest time and money into your business, which is obviously pretty critical if you want to grow. They bet big early that the secret to success would be the happiness of customers, i.e. you, the retailers. And this made them want to build a company full of people that are passionate about creating the best products and services. So they focus on features that simplify your operations and give you transparency in your business. And as of today, their growth has been largely from word of mouth from customers that absolutely love Ordero. And last year, the small team has actually helped to ship over 12 million orders all over the world. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jagath and welcome him to the stage to talk about best practices for streamlining your operations. So welcome, Jagath. Welcome to Tamebay Live.
Thank you, Chris. You can hear me well?
Yes, we can all hear you.
Awesome, thank you, and good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you guys are. I'm in Austin, Texas. It's 5 a.m. here. It's fun to be able to talk to be able to present to all of you. So just getting into the presentation. So a little bit of background about me. I have been in the supply chain space for almost 20 years now. I started my career at this company called Blue Yonder. I spent about 8 years there solving supply chain problems, primarily at large companies like the GM and the Chrysler, all the Fortune 100 corporations. And my focus was on order fulfillment and supply chain planning and demand forecasting. While I was there, I had a thesis that it's not just bigger companies that have these problems. Even smaller retailers face some of this. But they obviously cannot afford a multi-million-dollar software package to solve it for them. So if I could distill a lot of those concepts into a very easy to use software and sell it at an affordable price point, SMBs, small businesses, small and medium businesses could benefit from it. And that's why I launched Ordero with my co-founders. So we launched about 10 years ago, and our focus is on order fulfillment and inventory management and a few other things related to the e-commerce operations. As part of this, I continue to I speak to a lot of different successful SMB e-commerce merchants. I've had conversations with with hundreds of them, and my idea or what I'm trying to do here is to distill some of those core ideas into this presentation. So as you can expect, successfully growing an e-commerce business or any business requires a lot of pieces to come together. You need to focus on your marketing, your sales, your customer service, your product, and your fulfillment. The key is really about continuously improving your processes, regardless of which area that's on. And as you scale your business, the problems that you encounter on day one are very different from the problems you encounter on day 100. And when your company grows and it becomes a multi-million-dollar business, you're going to run into a completely different kind of problem. So as your business scales, you need to continue to evolve with that. Today, we're going to focus on one of those boxes, that is fulfillment. And I'll talk through a lot of different strategies on how to streamline your order fulfillment. So the order fulfillment is what I call as a non-sexy part of your business, because really the sexy part is your marketing, your sales, how do you attract your customers, and how do you convince them to buy a product from you, right? But as part of that process, you are making a promise to your customer, and what they're really buying from you is a promise that you are going to deliver a high quality product on time to their doorstep. Once you make that promise, fulfillment comes in, and the responsibility of order fulfillment is to make sure that you are delivering on that promise. So the question is, how well are you going to deliver on that promise? So let's go through 3 different strategies that a typical SMB e-commerce business owner or merchant can use for order fulfillment. So it boils down to 3 different models. The first one is very simple. This is how a lot of people get started. You can just run your own warehouse. And when I say warehouse, when you get started, it could be your garage, it could be your home, your living room, or it could be a small facility that you rent in a strip mall. So you could start from there, and as you grow, or even to begin with, you could even, rather than running your own warehouse, you could completely outsource your warehouse and go to a third-party logistics provider, which is a 3PL, a third party that's running your warehouse. Or you could move to a completely different strategy and say, I do not want to have the hassle of running a warehouse. I'm just going to drop ship all my inventory. In drop shipping, you don't handle any of the inventory problems. You just sign a deal with a supplier, and they ship the products directly to your customer. So let's go through each one of them in detail. I'll start with in-house fulfillment, or running your own warehouse. The idea here is simple. You are going to procure inventory from the distributor or the manufacturer. You're going to buy it in bulk, and you're going to store them in your warehouse, whether it's your garage or your house. You're going to store them all. And then as you get orders from your web store or from your marketplace, you're going to ship out each order as quickly as you can. So if you look at the workflow of this, step 1 is this is your company headquarters, and you're procuring all the goods from the supplier in bulk, and they're shipping it to you, and you're storing it in your warehouse in step 2. And in step 3, the customer places an order on your web store, you get notified, and then you ship it out. It's pretty simple. This is how most people get started. It's very easy to understand. You're completely in control of how your business is being run in this format. So what are some of the basics that you should consider when you build out this model, right? The first thing you can think about is, how do you optimize your shipping costs? So what I would recommend is that you should consider, you don't always ship using the same carrier. There are different carriers suitable for different purposes. For example, to take the US geography as an example, if I want to ship a package from Austin to New York, there are so many different options. I can ship using the postal service, I can ship using UPS, FedEx, or any of the regional carriers. And each one has their own pros and cons. Their cost may be different, their speed may be different. So based on the characteristics of the order, you can decide what's the best way to ship this order. Now, I know merchants who know the shipping costs by heart. One of the merchants that I closely work with, if I give him the information about a particular package and when I need it to reach, he knows exactly which carrier is ideal, because he has the entire zone rate lookup table in his head. But you don't really need to know all the details behind this. There are a lot of different multi-carrier shipping software available these days. Just use one of those, and they'll help you rate shop across carriers and help you choose what is the best carrier for a specific package. And they'll help you choose a carrier based on the cost and the speed. For example, if the customer requested overnight shipment, you should probably ship it using FedEx or UPS. But if the customer said that, I'm okay, I don't want to pay much for shipping, I want to get it in, like, let's say 4 or 5 days, you can probably choose the priority mail. So by optimizing your shipping costs and by using a good shipping software, you can save a lot on the shipping costs. Some of the other basics, you should organize all your data from the beginning. You should save the details of every order. Once you ship it out, you should know the tracking number, but what time did you ship it, which employee shipped it. And this is all useful because if the customer calls in asking for the details of a specific package, you can easily look it up and say, okay, this is the tracking number, this is where it is. And you can also use this information for future analysis. You should also notify the customer as soon as you ship. This is a very obvious thing, because when the customer placed an order, they just parted with money, and now they are in that stage where they're nervous to see, are they going to get this package on time? So the shipping confirmation email is one of the most exciting steps for the customer. When they get that email, they are getting confirmation that, okay, this package is on its way, and there's a tracking number, and they can click on it and they can track it. This is an opportunity for you to enchant the customer. And this is also an opportunity for you to get repeat purchases by either showing similar products or even giving them a coupon for coming back to your website and ordering. Now, that's how you got started. Let's say when you got started, you're probably getting like a handful, 2 or 3 orders a day. But now your business is scaling, your order volume is growing. To begin with, probably you are keeping track of all this information in spreadsheets and emails. But what I've seen is once you cross beyond 10 orders a day, things start to change. You should no longer be tracking things in a spreadsheet. This is an opportunity for you to upgrade to a true order management system. There are a lot of different order management systems out there. They'll all help you keep track of your orders, and there are systems specifically designed for e-commerce. So you should look around for one, compare the features and benefits, and then upgrade to one. This will really help you fine-tune your business, and as you scale, as your order volume continues to grow, you can be in charge of what's really happening in your business. Once you scale beyond 10 orders a day, some of the areas that you should focus on, the first one is you can start optimizing your warehouse. So there are different strategies here. One is you can divide your warehouse into zones. So you can say there are certain products in zone 1, another set of products are in zone 2. This makes it later on very easy for you to identify which product is where and then efficiently pick them. And for each product, you should assign an aisle bin location, which is where exactly is it located. And you should note that down. If you're using an order management system, most of them have an ability to attach an aisle bin to the product. And when the order comes in, you can easily look up saying that you need to go to this particular location to pick the product. And as your order volume grows, rather than having one employee picking all the orders, you may decide to divide your order picking across multiple employees, and you can group your orders into batches. And you can group them by speed. For example, all your next day, all your international orders should go out, should be grouped into one batch. All your expedited orders or like next day delivery orders should be batched into another group. You could batch them by warehouse zone. You could batch them by repeat customers. And once you batch them, you can assign these order batches to employees. And then you should you should let them pick them in batches rather than picking one order at a time. And this is the time when you start hiring more warehouse employees. Let's say you have a handful of warehouse employees now. The first thing you're going to run into are human errors. Obviously, as you add more people, you run into more problems. These are some of the most common human errors that I've seen people run into, and then I'll tell you in a second on how to eliminate them. So the first thing people run into, which is one of the most painful errors, is shipping the wrong product. So a customer ordered a product A, by mistake, you've shipped product B, and this is very disappointing for the customer because they're eagerly waiting for the order to come in. They're clicking on the tracking number and constantly monitoring it, but when they open the package, they realize that they got the wrong product. The second problem you may run into is fulfilling orders too slowly. You're getting too many orders and you just don't have enough capacity to fulfill them. And orders they just keep pending in your queue, and then you need to get going faster. And the third one you run into is back orders. You listed a product on your website and you took an order, but then later on you realize that you don't have it in stock, and it's very disappointing for the customer. And this could have a huge negative impact on your brand perception or your brand performance. So how do we eliminate it? The first one is shipping the wrong product. The number one thing I would recommend is start using barcode scanning within your operations. So attach barcodes to every product. When you attach barcodes to your aisle bin locations, when you're picking the order, use barcode scanning to make sure that you're picking the right product while you're pulling it from the shelves. And once you put it in each box, scan the box before you close the box, scan the barcode on each product in the box, and scan it against the packing list or the specific order in your order management system. And good order management systems will always let you cross-check and make sure that you are shipping the right product. People who use these strategies have completely eliminated shipping errors, and this is something I would strongly recommend as your order volume grows. How do you eliminate slow order fulfillment? Here, you need to be really on top of your analytics. You need to keep track of how fast are you shipping these orders. Here again, if you have a good order management system, it'll let you track how fast did you ship it, how many did you ship in the last one, how many of the orders did you ship within 24 hours, within 48 hours, within 72 hours. And your goal is to ship things as fast as you can. And if it's taking you more than 72 hours to ship, clearly there is something, it's not running well. That's an opportunity for you to improve your processes and streamline further. So keep tracking your analytics on order fulfillment speed, and set up alerts for stale orders, and sort your entire list by the earliest order, and make sure that you don't have pending orders just sitting in your queue. And the last one is, how do you eliminate out of stock and back orders? So here the key is to use a really good inventory management system. And again, there are software specific to e-commerce that can help you. And if you have a good system, what it's going to do is it's going to closely monitor your stock levels in the warehouse, and it's going to sync your stock levels across all your sales channels. This problem becomes way more important when you're selling across multiple channels. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're selling across Shopify and Amazon, and you have 100 units in your warehouse. And let's say someone bought 5 units from your Shopify store. Your Amazon's marketplace account does not automatically know that you have 5 less. And if someone keeps buying things from your Shopify store, and if you don't update your Amazon marketplace account, pretty soon you may run into a situation where you're completely sold out, but your Amazon account is still taking orders, right? So if you use a good inventory management system, it's going to constantly sync this data across all these channels. So as you get an order from Shopify, it's going to automatically reduce your stock level on Amazon. So invest in a system like that, where you are constantly syncing your inventory across all your sales channels, and that will make sure that you never end up in a situation where you took an order for a product and you're out of stock. On top of that, you can set up safety stock and stock alerts. You can say that, okay, when I'm running low on stock, alert me, and then you create a reorder. You purchase more inventory from your supplier, and when you purchase this, you need to factor in lead time and variability. So the supplier it's going to take them 30 days to ship you the goods. You need to make sure that you have at least 30 days of inventory in stock, and once it goes below the threshold, you need to reorder. So these are some of the strategies that you can use to avoid out of stock and back orders. So that's a quick overview of the in-house fulfillment strategy. So to summarize, let's look at the pros and cons of pursuing this approach. The obvious pro is that you have complete control on your customer experience, because you're running the warehouse. It's basically everything is done in-house, right? So you can segregate orders. You can decide what's going to ship out, and if you spot an error, you can immediately correct the process to go fix it. It may help you reduce the fulfillment costs by, again, internally optimizing it, and it helps you build fulfillment expertise. As your business grows, I personally believe, and by seeing a lot of successful merchants, I believe that fulfillment could be a competitive advantage for you, and by providing an excellent customer experience through fulfillment, shipping orders on time, and reducing the errors, this could really give a feedback loop into your brand perception. So pursuing the strategy really helps you build fulfillment expertise. The cons obviously are, you are responsible for running a warehouse, you're responsible for managing inventory. This could be a major context switch. So if you're more excited about building a great website and investing in sales and marketing and brand building, and fulfillment is not your expertise, this could be a big pain point for you. So that's where the next fulfillment strategy comes in. And let's say you don't want to deal with running a warehouse, you can consider a 3PL fulfillment or third-party logistics. So the idea here is, again, simple. You're procuring inventory from the supplier, but rather than running your own warehouse or storing them in your own warehouse, you're going to store them all in a 3PL warehouse. And once the inventory is stored, as orders come in, you're going to notify the 3PL with each order, and they are going to ship it out on your behalf. So the workflow here is a little bit more complex, but here's how it works. You're going to initially order the inventory, that's step one. And rather than shipping it to your own warehouse, because you're not running a warehouse, you're going to ship it all to the 3PL's warehouse. and they're going to store it. That's step 2. Step 3, as the customers are placing orders, you get that information. And in step 4, you're notifying the 3PL that you got an order, they need to ship it out to the customer. And in step 5, the 3PL is shipping that order to the customer. So it is fairly straightforward. It's very similar to your in-house fulfillment. It's just that you're not running the warehouse, someone else is running the warehouse for you. So how do you choose a 3PL? This is an area where there's a lot of buzz that's been happening lately. 3PL industry has been around for a long time, but in 2020, because of the COVID boost that in e-commerce, a lot of investment is flowing into the space. A lot of money is going here. There are different kinds of 3PLs you could choose from. There are small regional 3PLs that specialize in a specific product category, and then you can choose from. You can pick one of them. You can pick based on their cost and overall how you can talk to their process folks and then decide, is this the right kind of business that I want to be partnering with? Or you could go to a large warehouse networks. There are companies out there. They are almost like a franchise model where there are independent 3PLs running behind the scenes, but you see them, you access them through a common interface. And you can sign up with one of these, and they have warehouses geographically distributed. Or you could go to a very large 3PL system like Amazon FBA. Obviously, if you're selling on Amazon Prime, you're probably very familiar with Amazon's FBA model. But even if you're not selling on Amazon Prime, Amazon has a merchant fulfillment model or an external fulfillment model where you could be selling on a Shopify store, but you could still use the Amazon's FBA system to ship out your inventory. Your Shopify store needs to directly communicate with the FBA system. So you can pick and choose based on the characteristics of your business and based on which model is going to work exactly for you. The key here is really data integration. You need to be 100% in sync with your 3PL. As you get orders on your web store or your marketplace, you need to route those orders in real time to the 3PL. So 3PL systems, depending on what kind of technology that they use, they may want to get these orders either via emails or more often in a higher volume scenario, they will want you to send the orders to them via an API. Or if the 3PL has been around for a long time, they may be using like very old technology, like an FTP or FTP of a CSV file. So here again, if you're using a good order management system, it should have all these capabilities. It will be able to email the order. It can probably plug into the 3PL's API, or it could transmit the data using FTP. Once you send the order out, you should get the tracking number ASAP from the 3PL. So if the 3PL has the same day shipping guarantee, they'll ship it out. For example, the 3PL may say that, okay, if you give me an order before noon, I'll guarantee that I'll ship it out the same day. So as soon as they ship it out, you should get the tracking number back from them, and then you should notify to the customer. And you should also get regular inventory feeds from the 3PL to make sure that even though the inventory is stored in their warehouse, you're still responsible for inventory management. So you should constantly monitor it. And when you're running low on stock, you need to restock the 3PL. So you're still responsible for that. The pros and cons. The pros are that you have fewer operational headaches because you're not running a warehouse, you're not dealing with warehouse employees, you're completely outsourcing that. Another benefit could be that you can have seasonal scaling. So let's say your order volume it goes up around holiday season, around Christmas. You can find a 3PL that is capable of increasing the capacity, and then you don't have to worry about hiring more part-time employees into your warehouse because you can just pay the 3PL more money and they're going to scale it up automatically for you. And a lot of these 3PLs, they're consolidating all their package volume and they have negotiated rates with the carrier, and you could benefit from those consolidated shipping rates. So that's an opportunity for you to save some money. On the con side, compared to the in-house fulfillment, you have lesser control over the customer experience. You're basically relying on the 3PL to pack the right products and make sure that they are following the processes right, because if something goes wrong, you don't have much control over it. You can blame the 3PL, obviously, but it's your brand that's at stake. The customer doesn't care that it came from the 3PL. From the customer's point of view, they ordered a product and they did not have the right experience, right? So you need to be very careful of that. You are obviously not gaining any expertise in fulfillment. And like I said earlier, as your business grows, Your fulfillment expertise could become a competitive advantage by completely outsourcing it. You're missing out on that opportunity. There could be a lot of different costs that the 3PL is going to charge you. There could be setup fees, order fees, and fulfillment fees. In this area, things have improved quite a bit, and 3PLs offer consolidated packages where they don't separate out these costs for you. And in the end, you're still, even though you have outsourced the fulfillment, you're still responsible for inventory management. So you need to be closely monitoring stock levels. You need to be fully responsible for restocking the 3PL. So you're still closely involved in running everything. And let's now look at another method where it's even more hands-off, and that's dropshipping. When it comes to dropshipping, it's much simpler. Obviously, there are a lot of cons to it, which I'll get to in a second. But you're no longer procuring inventory. You don't need to worry about like buying up inventory upfront. You're no longer storing them in your warehouse or in a 3PL because there is no warehouse here. The idea is very simple. You just go sign a deal with the distributor or with the manufacturer and say that, okay, I'm going to list all your products on my website or my marketplace account. And when I get an order, I'm going to notify you. And then I want you to ship that order directly to the customer. So you as a merchant, you're not touching inventory, you're not worrying about inventory, you're not even seeing any of these boxes. They're just like going straight from the manufacturer or the distributor straight to the customer. So the process flow is very simple. The customer places an order and you notify the supplier or the distributor or the manufacturer about that order, and they are shipping it directly to the customer. They completely bypass all the middle warehouses and everything. Here again, the key is you need to stay in sync. You need to route your orders in real time. So as you get orders from your Shopify web store or your BigCommerce web store or from your marketplace account, you need to notify the dropshipper ASAP. And even dropshippers may have guarantees that if I get the order before noon, I'll ship it out the same day. So make sure that you notify these dropshippers in real time. And once I ship it out, make sure you get the tracking number back from them, and you need to go and notify your customer in turn with the tracking confirmation email. And here again, even though you're not managing inventory, it's a good idea to constantly get inventory feeds from them, because if you don't monitor their stock levels, let's say they're running low on stock, or worst case, they completely run out of stock for a product. If you're still listing the product, you can run into a back order situation, right? So you want to avoid that. So you closely monitor your stock levels, and as soon as you figure out that, okay, a product is going out of stock, you're going to remove that listing from your web store or from the marketplace to prevent you from taking an order. So you're not really managing inventory here, but it's a good idea to stay on top of the stock levels at your dropshipper. Let's look at the pros and cons. The pro obviously is that it's fully hands-off. In fact, this is a business model that's heavily promoted these days. There are a lot of merchants on Shopify who, a lot of people criticize this business model, also saying that this is promoted as a get-rich-quick scheme where you don't need to think about inventory, you don't need to even really understand fulfillment. You can just list a product, sit at your home, or even sit on the beach, and then just keep minting money. The reality is that that's not how it actually works. You may still need to do quite a bit of work to successfully build a dropshipping business. The second pro is that it helps with your cash flow. This is a real thing because now you're no longer buying up inventory, so you don't need to invest a lot of cash into this. You are just paying these dropshippers as you go. So many of these dropshippers will say, end of the month, I'll invoice you for the total amount that I shipped, and then you can pay me at 30. So it helps with your cash flow because you're collecting cash up from the customer, and then you're paying to your supplier. This could be an easy way to expand your product offerings, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in one of the later slides. You can easily, let's say you decided that you want to get into a new product category, rather than buying up inventory, you can start with dropshipping because you're taking very less amount of risk here. Because you're not buying up all those goods upfront. So in case you're not able to sell it, you can just stop that dropshipping category, and then you have not lost any money in that inventory. The cons here are, this is where you have the least amount of control, right? In the entire spectrum, in-house, you have maximum control. In 3PL, you have less control. And in dropshipping, you have the least amount of control. You're completely at the mercy of the dropshipper or the distributor to uphold your brand experience. So if they make a mistake, your brand is going to suffer. Many of these dropshippers will often print out your logo, the invoice with your logo, and put it in the box. But if they don't do that, then when the customer gets the box, you're missing on an opportunity to include like a coupon code or get to or win over the repeat purchase from them. The second con is that if you can do it, your competitors can do it from the same supplier, right? So your supplier, they don't care that your competitor is buying the same product from you. So really, there's not much competitive advantage here. And depending on the type of product, your profit margin may be slim. So that's another thing you should consider before deciding whether you should get into dropshipping model. So we went through 3 different strategies. Run your own warehouse where you're completely in charge of everything that's happening in the warehouse. You can completely outsource your warehouse where you don't deal with the fulfillment part, but you're still in charge of the inventory management piece. Or you can be completely hands-free and then you dropship everything. So which strategy do you choose, right? Like many things in life, the answer is it really depends on your circumstance, and there is no one answer. What I've seen that a lot of successful merchants do is they use a hybrid fulfillment model. So they're doing a mix of some products are in-house, some products are at the 3PL, and some products are dropshipped. So there are a lot of different reasons for why someone would split their entire product catalog into in-house, 3PL, and dropshipping. Here are some examples. You could take your most popular products and you could say that I am going to ship these products from my warehouse. So these are the products where those are the most important products for you. This is where you're getting the most amount of orders. So you don't want any error here. So you want to be completely in charge. So you're running a warehouse and you're moving all those products into your warehouse and you're shipping it out of there. But there could be certain product category that you move to the 3PL, right? Maybe it depends on there are certain kind of products which it's not a good idea to keep in your warehouse, and there are 3PLs. Maybe these are goods that need to be refrigerated, just as an example. And there are 3PLs that specialize in that, so you outsource it to them. Another strategy that I've seen people do is for geography coverage. So let's say you are based in the UK and you have a regional warehouse there, but you want to get into the US market, but you can no longer afford to ship from UK into the US because it's going to be slow. So you sign a deal with a 3PL in the US and ship a lot of products there. And if you get an order from the US, you're going to send that order to the 3PL. If you get an order from the UK, you're going to ship it out from your warehouse. So there could be a lot of different strategies where you combine the 3PL with your in-house shipment. And the most common reason why I see people try out dropshipping for certain products is if they're experimenting with a new category or a product. So you're adding a new product or a new category. You don't want to take the hassle of procuring all of that up front and putting it in your warehouse or a 3PL. You just sign a deal directly with the manufacturer and say, okay, I'm going to add this new product category on my website, but I'm going to dropship it to you. And I want you to ship it directly to the customer, and they can closely watch the metrics, how well this is growing. And if things are picking up, you can then move that product in-house or move it to a 3PL. So here, obviously, it's a bit more complex, but you can, if you're familiar with the 3 models, this is just a combination of it. In step 1, as the customer places an order, it comes into your system, and then you can decide based on certain rules on, am I going to ship it directly to the customer? Am I going to notify to a 3PL, and are they going to ship it to the customer? Or am I going to notify the supplier, and are they going to drop ship it to the customer? So you can combine all of these approaches and then pick a really good strategy, a hybrid strategy to really scale your business. Here again, as you can guess, automation is the key. Without automation, it's almost impossible to pull this off. You need to analyze every order, and then based on the characteristics of the order, you should send it to the right party, right? So for example, if you're geographically separating the orders based on where the customer is coming from, where the customer placed the order from, you need to say, okay, which warehouse should it go to? Should it go to your warehouse? Should it go to a 3PL? Sometimes you may want to, an order came in for two different products. One is coming from your warehouse, the other one is to be drop shipped. You may want to automatically split and route that order. Here again, you need to automate this. You need to have a good order management system that can split and route these orders. And just like any of the other strategies, if you're using a third party to ship it out, you need to get those tracking numbers ASAP from them, from the 3PL or the dropshipper, and notify your customer. And you need to get the inventory feeds from the 3PL and the dropshipper. And ideally, you should have all this information in one dashboard. The stock levels in your warehouse, the stock levels in 3PL, the stock levels of the dropshipper, and make decisions based on that, and then make reorder decisions and keep everything in stock. The pros here are you're combining the best of three worlds. This could be a very efficient way for you to scale your business. And if you can do this, in fact, what I've seen with some of the most successful merchants that I speak to, they know they are so plugged into their business that they know exactly what products needs to be in their warehouse, what needs to be at a 3PL and what needs to be at a dropshipper. They really combine all three methods and build this hybrid model. And that's really a competitive advantage for them. The cons obviously are, this is more complex. I wouldn't recommend that you get started with this, but as you scale, this is something you should consider. And you need 100% automation. You need to be reasonably sophisticated to pull this off. And here again, the key is automation. Don't try to do this using spreadsheets and emails. You should have a system that's capable of handling this level of complexity for you. So in conclusion, we went through a lot of different strategies on how do you fulfill your orders, how do you can either ship it from in-house, what are the pros and cons of that, how much control that you have. You can either give it to a 3PL, store it there, and then what are the pros and cons there, and you can use drop shipping. So there's really no one answer. You should use the right tool for the right job, and the right answer obviously depends on your circumstances, the specific nature of your business. And the key here is that you should constantly watch your processes, and you should streamline, and then you should evolve as your business grows. And at every stage of your business, there are different problems you'll run into. And so you need to pick and choose the strategy wisely. And thank you for listening in.
Thanks for that, Jagat.
Awesome.
So, got some questions for you. And the very first one is, you were talking, first of all, for self-fulfillment over the ability to have multiple carriers and choosing between them and having automated. But the question is, what do you do about volume pricing? Because for many, if they put all their volume with one courier, they get a much better price than if they split their volume between 3 or 4 couriers. So what's the solution there?
Yeah, that's a very good point. In fact, what will happen to you is that as your volume grows, the carriers or the couriers may approach you to negotiate a special deal. Here again, you have to, as part of that negotiation, just like any business negotiation that you're going to do, you have to understand your data and then decide, is this the right deal for me, right? For example, it may turn out that, and we do have a lot of merchants who do this, they started off with a particular carrier, but as their volumes grew, a competing carrier approached them with a really good deal. They did the analysis and decided that rather than having a hybrid strategy for choosing the carrier, I'm going to move all my volume to this carrier, and that's better for me, right? So it just depends on the numbers. If you have reached that level of sophistication, that means that you're doing really well. That's great for you. But if you have not reached that level of sophistication, what I would recommend is use a shipping software or an order management system that has these negotiated rates. Because what companies like, in our case, for example, since we are shipping millions and millions of packages, we have negotiating power, and we use that to get really good rates with our customers, and then we pass on those rates to our customers. So it may be better off that rather than negotiating directly with the carrier, you latch onto an existing shipping system that has those rates for you.
Okay, brilliant. And another question, an interesting one, is which strategy is best if I'm dealing with a lot of returns? And this is from someone that sells fashion, so they almost certainly do get a lot of returns. Is it dropship? Is it 3PL? Is it self-fulfill? And I'd like to ask a sort of supplementary question. do the returns always have to go back to the place they were shipped from? So could I ship from a 3PL but handle returns from my own warehouse, for example? What's the best strategy?
Yeah, return logistics is a complex, it's a complicated space, and I could speak for hours just about that topic. But in the summary is it really depends on how you want to set it up, right? So in returns, obviously, the first part is make the process very easy for the customer. Make it very easy. Have your return policy clearly written down on your website on how to initiate a return. And there are a lot of other things you can do. For example, once they initiate a return, you can decide as a policy, you can decide, are you always going to pay for returns? In fashion, I think what I've seen is the norm is that people may buy 3 or 4 dresses or 3 or 4 shoes, and they're going to try them all out, and then they're going to keep one and return the other 4, right? So you need to factor that into your business model. So the approaches you can take are make it super easy for the customer to return. When they initiate a return, you could create a shipping label for them automatically, and then they could email the label for them, and they can just print it out and put it on the box, and then the carrier can pick it up. So make that process easy. That's the first step. Where are you going to return to really depends on the nature of the product. There is no, you can set it up such that the returns are always coming to your warehouse. If, for example, if you have your own warehouse, it may be easy for you to get the returns to you. Then you can inspect it, and then you can decide, do you want to restock this product, or if it's damaged, you can discard it. You have complete control of the return process. You may decide, if you're in a pure dropshipping model, you can sign a deal with the supplier and say that, okay, when I get returns, I as a merchant, I'm still going to generate the return labels, but the returns are, rather than the return label is not going to come back to my warehouse because I don't have one. I'm going to send it directly to you. So this is part of the agreement that you negotiate. With 3PLs, this is a tricky area. It really depends on whether your 3PL is can handle returns. A lot of 3PLs don't, because they are very much focused on outbound shipment. That's how their processes are optimized. So you may need to have a 3PL that's very focused on returns, or you can say, I'm going to run a warehouse where my primary goal is to accept returns. So put your headquarters as a return address and bring it there. And then you can inspect, and then you can decide that, okay, if it's good for restocking, you can ship them all the good products back to the 3PL. So it's a mixed strategy here again. It really depends on how your business is set up. But you need to really look at all the different possibilities here and pick the one that's working right for you.
Excellent. And just a reminder, if you've got any questions, just below the presentation screen, there is a little tab that says submit questions. So please feel free to submit questions. We've got one coming though. If I'm trying to make my business as sustainable as possible, which supply chain strategy should I choose to help with this? So over to you on this one.
Yeah, that is a tricky one, and again, there is no one answer. I think your goal is to minimize the amount of waste. So things that you can look at are, if you look at the entire flow of things, right? You can think about packaging, right? So let's say that this is your key differentiation from your competition, that you're going to use eco-friendly packaging, right? You may want to purchase the right kind of packaging material, right kind of boxes, and you may want to run your warehouse because you want to be strictly in charge of it. You can, of course, if you're using a 3PL, you can say that, okay, I'm going to send you shipping supplies. That may get tricky, because what 3PLs are typically optimized in doing is they have bulk deals with manufacturers of boxes and packaging material, and their entire operation is they have conveyor belt operations where it's optimized to use, okay, boxes are coming in, they're packing boxes. So if you go in there and say, no, for my orders, I want you to use a specific kind of box, that may get tricky. So if that is your key differentiation, I would strongly urge you into considering building your own warehouse system where you have strict control over it. The other thing you could look at is eco-friendly carriers. I know there are even carriers that are virtual shippers, which really focus on sustainability. So you could look at that to make sure that you are shipping through those carriers. So again, there are mixed strategies you could use here, but my gut feel here is that you should strongly consider in-house fulfillment here because you want to be completely in charge of it, because you don't want to advertise that you're eco-friendly and then you don't want it to come in like Amazon gets a lot of flack for it, that you just ordered like a pen and it comes in a massive box filled with tons of packaging around it. And if your 3PL shipped it like that, it goes against your brand value proposition. So you should be fully in charge there. So I would suggest that you should look at in-house fulfillment for that.
And then another question, which you kind of touched on already, is if you use a 3PL, can you decide which packaging is used? This particular person says they want it to reflect their business and their product quality, because they sell high-end products.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of like to combine that as a wider question, which is, how do you choose a 3PL? What should you be looking out for? Obviously, if packaging is important, you're going to need to choose one that will either use packaging specified by you or supplied by you. But what else should I be looking out for?
Yeah, let me talk about packaging a little bit, and then I'll talk about 3PLs. So packaging itself, it's a space where there are a lot of different vendors. So you can either get like these cheap cardboard boxes, or you can get branded cardboard boxes, right? So there are vendors out there who will print those in bulk for you, and you can specify a lot of characteristics of how you want the box to be, what material. So you can easily just Google for it, and then you will find those vendors, and then you can buy those boxes in bulk, and you can keep them all in your warehouse and ship them out. When it comes to 3PL, there are 3PLs who would specialize in this. You need to. So how do you choose a 3PL? So I'll give you a recent example where I was helping a particular customer, and they were actually based in the UK, and they were trying to get into the US market. That, like I said during my talk, the thing that they were looking for is they wanted to choose a 3PL based on geography. So they want to have only one warehouse, and they want to find that warehouse such that within the US, everything can be shipped and will reach the customer within 1 to 2 days. So US, as you know, geographically, it's a much larger country. So where you locate the warehouse is the key. But with this customer, they got even more sophisticated, and they did some analysis and figured out that majority of their orders, they are forecasting it to come from the East Coast, from the New York area, because the product that they're selling is more targeted towards bigger cities. So they wanted to locate a warehouse somewhere in Pennsylvania, because it could be easily shipped. So geographic location of the warehouse is very important. And if you're choosing multiple 3PLs, you could say that, okay, I want to have one warehouse on the East Coast, another one on the West Coast, and you can choose that based on geography. You could choose the warehouse based on specific needs. For example, in this case where you want to have sustainable packaging, when you talk to the 3PL, right, in that example, you're obviously not going to go to an Amazon FBA or like a big branded warehouse, which is faceless. You are probably going to choose a very focused 3PL that can meet these needs. So 3PL space is not, it's 3PL spaces. There are hundreds of companies that do 3PL. So for example, one of the companies that we partner with, they're regional, they're based here in Texas. They're based in a small town in Texas. They've been around for 30 years. The experience that you get, you're probably going to get to talk to the owner, who's going to be very hands-on with you. That's very different from an experience that you're going to get when you talk to a larger company where you're probably just going to do a sales rep, right? So talk to the 3PL, shop around for it, make sure that they can meet your demands. And if you have the situation where you care a lot about your packaging needs and you still don't want to run your warehouse, just shop around for it, and you may find a company that can actually meet your needs of using your own packaging material and give you a guarantee that if I make an error, I'm going to refund you the fees or something, and get convinced. So this is like any typical business partnership. Think of it as a partnership, and rather than like, I'm just going to outsource it to this faceless company, think of it as a true partnership if you really care about that piece of it.
Well, thank you so much for that, Jagat. We're right up against time, so I really want to thank you for your time today. Awesome. Just a reminder for everyone, please make use of the networking areas on the Totem platform, such as the coffee tables in the hub. I'll be heading across there later today, so come and say hello. And don't forget to visit our presenting partner showcases. And I'm sure if you pop past the Ordero stand, you'll be able to meet Jagath and his colleagues later in the day and throughout the week, as well as our other partners. So if you do have any more questions or you want to find out more about Ordero, pop past their showcase. The Totem platform will be open for an hour following the event to allow for additional networking time. And we do have another session on the merchant stage this afternoon, listing on eBay best practices. And then tomorrow we'll be back, and tomorrow is all about growth and how to accelerate your business into the future. So Jagath, I want to really thank you for today. It's been a fascinating discussion. Thank you so much for your time.
That's been awesome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And we look forward to welcome you all back to the merchant stage this afternoon, and then tomorrow for Growth Day at Tamebay Live. And a final thanks to all of our sponsors and to our title sponsor, eBay.